I need to tell you something that I have never posted about online. Not on Reddit, not on any of those let's discuss creepy travel stories forums. Not anywhere. I've started typing this out probably 6 or 7 times over the past 2 years and deleted every single word because honestly, part of me was convinced that if I talked about it, if I named it, something would find its way back to me. But I can't keep this inside anymore. It's eating me alive. What happened on Flight 2247 was real. Every single detail I'm about to share with you is something I lived through. And by the time I get to the end of this story, you're going to understand why I haven't been on an airplane since. Not once. You'll understand why I sleep with the hallway light on. And you'll understand why, when I looked up the passenger manifest for that flight 3 weeks after landing, the official one, the one the airline eventually released after I submitted a FOIA request, I found something that should be mathematically, logistically, and physically impossible. Let me take you back to October. 2 years ago, a Tuesday night at O'Hare. 2 rows back now, still just standing there in the aisle. Okay, I am a 34-year-old man who grew up watching horror movies. I know the tropes. I know what your brain does when you're overtired and scared. It creates patterns, manufactures threats, turns coat racks into killers. I genuinely, sincerely tried to talk myself out of what I was feeling. But here's the thing about that. I couldn't stop looking, because standing there in the aisle, 2 rows behind me was the woman from the gate. The one in the green coat. I was sure of it. Same upright posture, same stillness, same coat. I turned all the way around in my seat and looked directly at her. She was looking directly at me, not past me, not at the seatback screen over my shoulder, at me, with an expression that I still cannot adequately describe. It wasn't threatening exactly. It was more like patient, the way someone looks when they're waiting for you to understand something you haven't figured out yet. "Hey," I said quietly, because I didn't want to wake the guy sleeping in row 23. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" She didn't answer. She tilted her head, just slightly, just a few degrees, and then walked back to the last row and sat down again. I was completely awake now. I pressed the call button. A flight attendant. Young guy. Couldn't have been more than 25. Name tag said Marcus. Came down the aisle about 2 minutes later with that practiced, pleasant smile they all have. "Everything all right?" he asked, keeping his voice low. "The woman in the last row," I said. "She keeps standing in the aisle. I just wanted to flag it in case she needs something." Marcus glanced toward the back of the plane, and I watched his expression do something subtle, a flicker, like a card being shuffled quickly behind his eyes. Then the smile came back. "I'll check on it," he said. "Can I get you anything? Water, maybe?" "Sure," I said. "Water would be great." He never came back with the water. We pushed back from the gate around midnight. The flight attendants did the safety demo. The cabin lights dimmed. And somewhere over Wisconsin, I finally started to relax for the first time in 48 hours. I fell asleep. I don't know how long I was out. When I woke up, the cabin was dark except for the soft blue glow of the overhead lights. Most passengers were asleep. The flight attendants had disappeared behind their curtain up front. My phone said 1:43 a.m., and someone was standing at the back of the plane. Not walking, not waiting for the bathroom, just standing there, in the aisle, maybe 4 rows behind me, facing forward. Facing me. In the dim light, I couldn't make out the face clearly, but I could see the silhouette, the outline of a person, upright, arms at their sides, completely motionless. My first thought, honestly, was that someone was sleepwalking. It happens on long flights. I'd read about it. I shifted in my seat, and the movement must have been enough. because the figure turned around slowly and walked back toward the last row and sat down. I put my headphones back on and told myself the dim light, the sleep deprivation, the grief, all of it was scrambling my brain. I watched 20 more minutes of my documentary and fell back asleep. The second time I woke up, the person was closer. The whole trip was last minute. My uncle had passed. Completely unexpected cardiac event. He was 61 and ran marathons, and I needed to get from Chicago to Portland, Oregon as fast as I could. The funeral was Thursday morning, and I'd already burned through my bereavement days at work earlier that year when my grandmother went. So I was paying out of pocket, which meant I took whatever seat was cheapest on whatever flight still had availability. That turned out to be a red-eye, departing O'Hare at 11:45 p.m., arriving Portland at 2:17 a.m. local time. The plane was a Boeing 737, not the biggest bird in the fleet, but not tiny either. About 150 seats across 26 rows. I was assigned 2-4C, an aisle seat, middle section, near the back. I remember the gate area was nearly empty when I got there. Most people on late-night flights have done this before. They're not the chatty, excited vacation types. Everyone was quiet, plugged into something, doing that practice thing frequent flyers do where they make themselves invisible. I got a bottle of water and some trail mix from the Hudson News kiosk and found a seat near the window to wait. That's when I noticed the woman. She was sitting 3 seats down from me in the gate area. And the first thing that registered was that she was completely still. Not still like someone scrolling their phone or zoning out to music. Still like a photograph. Back straight, hands folded in her lap, eyes forward, staring at the jetway door. She was maybe late 50s, early 60s, with silver-streaked hair pulled back neatly. She was wearing a dark green wool coat despite it being a warm evening. No carry-on that I could see. No purse, no phone. People don't fly without at least a phone in their hand. It's practically a law of nature at this point. I told myself she was probably just tired. Grieving, even. Same as me. Airports at midnight are full of people with sad reasons for being there. I looked away and ate my trail mix, and eventually we boarded. I need to pause here and give you some context, because what I'm about to tell you is the part that moved this whole thing from unsettling flight experience to something I genuinely cannot explain. When I got to Portland, exhausted, wrung out, going through the mechanical motions of a person attending a funeral, I started doing what I always do when something bothers me. I started looking things up. Flight 2247, October 14th, Chicago, O'Hare to Portland International. The flight landed fine, obviously. No incidents. But I wanted to know who was on that plane. I wanted to be able to put a name to the woman in the green coat so I could tell myself there was a rational explanation, that she had some medical condition, that she was documented somewhere as a person who exists and travels and occasionally stands very still in airplane aisles. Airline passenger manifests aren't public record. I knew that. But 3 weeks after the flight, I submitted a FOIA request to the TSA. It was a long shot, but I figured why not. And I also reached out to the airline's customer service department, framing it as a complaint about a disruptive passenger, hoping they'd at least confirm the seat assignment. The customer service response came back first. Standard form letter. We take all passenger concerns seriously. Blah, blah, blah. Nothing useful. But then I got the TSA response, which wasn't what I expected at all. But the letter was almost like a clerical. That said, it's down please note that our records for the referenced flight 90 configurations. A standard 737 to 800 holds between 162 and 189 passengers. Depending on configuration, even a two-thirds full flight, which is what the cabin looked like when I boarded, should have had somewhere around 100 to 120 people on it. 94 checked in for departure, but at least 10 to 15 of those seats near the front had been taken. I remembered seeing them, sleeping passengers, a family with a kid, a guy in a business suit. The math was weird, but okay, fine. Maybe the flight really had been unusually empty. That's not the part that kept me up at night. The part that kept me up at night is that 2 weeks after I got that TSA letter, I ran into Marcus at a coffee shop in Portland. I haven't been on a plane in 2 years. I've driven to see my family. I've taken Amtrak once, a horrible 22-hour ride from Chicago to New York that I would happily repeat every month compared to flying. My therapist thinks I've developed a flight phobia, which, yeah, probably, but not for the reasons she assumes. But I want to tell you the last part of this, the part I haven't told anyone. The night before my uncle's funeral, I was lying in the guest room at my aunt's house, and I couldn't sleep. I was staring at the ceiling, and I was thinking about the woman in the green coat, about what Marcus had said, that she might have been someone with an unfinished trip, someone trying to reach a person who was open to being reached. And I thought about my uncle, about the last time I'd seen him, which had been at a family barbecue the previous summer. He'd talked about wanting to come visit me in Chicago, wanting to see the city, wanting to walk along the lake. We'd made vague plans that neither of us had followed through on. He never got to Chicago. I was lying there in the dark when I heard it. I want to be completely clear that I was awake, not half asleep, not dreaming, completely awake, when I heard a sound from the hallway outside the guest room door. Footsteps. Slow, even, deliberate footsteps, coming down the hallway and then stopping right outside my door. I lay there for what felt like forever without breathing. And then, very quietly, someone knocked. Once. Just once. I got up. I crossed the room. I opened the door. The hallway was empty, but I could smell something. Faint, fading, already almost gone. Sunscreen. The cheap kind in the orange bottle. The kind my uncle always slathered on at family barbecues because he burned easily, and he was vain about it in the most endearing way possible. I stood in that empty doorway for a long time. "I'm sorry I never came to visit," I said. To no one. To the dark hallway. To whatever was or wasn't there. "I'm sorry I didn't call more. I'm sorry." The smell faded completely. And here's the thing I want to leave you with. The thing that has slowly, over 2 years, shifted how I understand what happened on that plane. I don't think the woman in the green coat was there to frighten me. I think she was there because she recognized something in me. A grief frequency, maybe. Some signal that people emit when they're flying toward loss, when they're going somewhere that breaks your heart a little to arrive at. I think she was trying to tell me something. Not something scary. Something true. That the people we lose don't always land where they were going. That some of them stay in the in-between places. The late-night gates. The dim aisles at 30,000 feet. The empty hallways of houses full of grief. That sometimes they find their way to us in the only moments when we're quiet enough to notice. The manifest had 94 passengers. I was the last one to board.